I'm in no rush. I'm just saying. All right. For those of you that don't know, I'm Jess Smith. For those of you that do know, I've probably seen you and harassed you early in the morning. So first off, thank you all for coming. All right. And before we get into this, I just wanted to take a second to talk about what sport and performance psychology is. How many of you know what that is or have any idea? What'd you say?
Sport performance psychology?
Yeah. What do you think it is, or what do you know it as?
Just like the mental aspects of the game, like being able to perform at your highest level mentally, I would say.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
and stuff.
Okay. Does anybody have any idea what those items might be? All right, what you got?
I'd say freeing your mind or your body and your athletic ability from your mind.
It's different when you can separate the two, huh? Definitely. Somebody else got something? Okay, so it could be error correction. It could be connecting the dots between, like, say you have an injury and you need to rehab. All right, well, you might not be able to do physical practice, right? But you still want to be able to get back to playing and playing at a high level when you're able to return, right? All right, and then sometimes it can be more life-based, right? So we're looking at everything and using it in an applied sense, all right? So that just means the very practical end, all right? And if you guys know me, I'm very hands-on, I'm very active, right? So this is like the active side of like psychology, all right? So as we start tonight, if you guys want to say something, if you have a question on anything, feel free to stop me at any point and ask a question, raise your hand, yell at me, whatever. I might get going and I might get excited about something and I might get stuck. So don't be afraid to stop me, all right? So let's look at what is athletic identity. And first off, how does it impact our lives and why does it matter, all right? So athletic identity, all right, all of you in here are athletes, right? All right, you guys are here at study tables, all right? You guys put in extra time, right? You guys are committing yourselves to training. You're committing yourselves to what I like to call as the athletic hygiene, right? You guys are sleeping. You're taking care of your studies. You're taking care of making sure that you eat on top of this. Some of y'all might have to work, all right? When I was in college, I had to work, all right? So that was another factor, right? And so how do these things impact our lives? And then why does all of this stuff matter, right? So let's get into it. All right, so how does sport and being an athlete impact your life? Somebody got something? What's one way? Somebody can just shout something out. Nobody wants to share? I'll do all the sharing. All right, you guys will have to like turn about my life. All right, does anybody have anything? No? Okay. All right, so let's start here. How does sport and being an athlete impact your life? All right, for those of you that are in season, do you know how many hours you guys can practice up to?
9.
In season. 20 hours. You know what 20 hours is? That's a part-time job. All right, how many credits do you guys have to take at minimum to be in class right now? Like, to be eligible for sport? 12, right? All right, that's 12 hours of being in class, whether that's being on the computer for that class time, right? All right, and then imagine, at least those of you that are like studying, all right, I'm gonna cut it in half, I'm gonna be generous. Y'all probably spend like a true 6 hours studying, right? But at like real scenario, y'all are probably spending the same amount of time in class studying, all right? So if you're taking 12 credits and you're studying 12 hours a week, you're in season, and your coach has you for up to 20 hours, right? This isn't even including traveling, all right? Traveling makes you tired, right? So we're already at how many hours? We got 20, we got 12, we got 12 again, so that's 24, and that's 44 hours a week. All right, I don't know about y'all, but 40 hours is a full-time job. All right, and we're already over 4, and that's not including hanging out with your friends. That's not including y'all doing errands to get groceries for either your apartment or your dorm, or even just getting soap to wash your clothes. All right, so if you weren't sure if being an athlete impacted your life, I just showed you. Y'all have a full-time job, right? You're a full-time student, and now you're a full-time athlete too, all right? So we just upped the ante. All right, so in what ways does being an athlete impact your life, right? So we're looking at, all right, we mentioned it, Ryan helped us out, all right? We've got the mental aspects of the game, right? We've got the physical aspects of the game, and then we also have the social aspects of the game. Think about it, you guys have teammates, right? Y'all might have some teammates that you guys get along with really well. You might have teammates that you probably haven't ever talked to, and you just know their name. And you might have teammates where you're like, I don't really care for them. All right, that's all aspects of part of sport, right? So you're learning how to deal with all these people in all these different settings. All right, coach is calling the shots. You might not have any control on like how you're playing, right? Other than how you're showing up for practice, right? So when we look at what we can control, all right, we can control how we show up, right? That's a part of our identity, right? And we can control how we perform in the essence of like taking care of those athlete hygiene things, right? All right, so from here, we're gonna hop right into strengths, all right? So looking at like, all right, so you're already spending like full-time hours being an athlete, being a human, being in sport, right? And we need to have some separation between our mind and the physical work that we're doing, in addition to how we're letting that impact our self-worth and our self-identity and how we talk to ourselves, all right? So we're gonna hop into these strengths here. And so, I just pulled this one because this is an easy one to look at. There's a bunch of assessments out there. Some of you, I'm sure, have heard of like the DISC assessment. Some of you have heard of the Millenniagram. And this one I thought is the most straightforward and the easiest, and I have data of my own test from it, all right? So it looks at 24 different character strengths, all right? So we've got appreciation, we've got bravery, creativity, curiosity, all right? A whole gamut of options, right? So these are things that they have listed out, and they've got a definition for each of them, right? And so some of y'all might see a few of these words and see a place that you can immediately belong in, all right? And some of y'all might be like, all right, maybe, and then you might find one or two that you're like, all right, that's me. You see what I'm saying? All right, so today we're gonna do a little activity, all right? So I've taken this test, I took it in October of 2018, I took it in October of 2019, and then I took it last night to prepare for today. So if any of you don't know about ADHD, there's nothing like pressure, and I work well under pressure. So I took this last night. And so if you look at it, all right, let's look at this. I've changed over the last 4 years, all right? But there's a few things that have stayed here, all right? Humor is on all of my top 5, honesty is on all of my top 5, and curiosity is on all of my top 5. All right, I highly identify with those traits, all right? If y'all don't know me or you don't get it, I'm trying to be funny most of the time, and sometimes my delivery is very dead. So if you're unsure, just ask me, all right? But then curiosity, all right? And honesty are big to me. So it's like, all right, we've got to be honest with ourselves, we've got to be honest with the situation, and we got to be honest with what we're working to accomplish, right? And this curiosity for me is not so much like being mischievous as it is like, all right, let me find out where these limits are. Let me figure out how far I can go. Let me see how much I can do, or let me figure out how well I can work with the things that I already know, all right? So I put my five on here, all right? So now, if y'all have a piece of paper and a pen, I'm gonna ask y'all, all right, we got our mirror here. So we're looking in our metaphorical mirror. All right, mirror, on the PowerPoint display board. What are my top 5 strengths? All right, so y'all take a second. If you don't have anything to write with, all right, grab your phone, all right, and just make a note, all right? So let's take a second here, and let's think about what are your top 5 strengths. That could be in sport, that could be in school, that could be in life. All right, so we'll take a quick 5 here. Time. All right. So as you guys kind of thought about that, how many of you guys thought about something that might have been related to sport? How many of you might have thought of something that's related to how you are around your family? How many of you might have related to something that's like around your friends? Like one of these might have been like something like, hey, like I'm this around my friends. All right? So there's areas of your life where you might have specific strengths, right? So we have differing strengths within different areas of our life, and then there's also going to be certain strengths that we have that are going to carry over, right? And so like, for example, like competitiveness might not carry over so well in some areas of our life, right? So there's a little give and take here, right? All right, so little things like that. So keep your list, all right? So keep your list, and you're going to see how we segue this, all right? So, all right, we've looked in the mirror, right? Oops. And so take a look at your list real quick and see if there's a way that maybe some of the things that you wrote down that might relate more to your relationships with your family or your friends. All right, how can you bring that into sport maybe? Or what about some of those aspects that you see yourself in sport? How can you bring that to school? How can you bring that to relationships? where some of those traits can cross over. Take a second and like really look at what you guys wrote down. You see what I'm saying? Or if something else comes to mind, write that new stuff down. You see what I'm saying? All right. And so for those traits that weren't sport specific, all right, that's part of who you are. That's part of your identity, right? All right. And then you've got aspects of that within your sport that you relate to, right? And so then as we look at like, all right, this is me, all right, being an athlete might be important for some of y'all. Being an athlete might be the only thing that you want to be right now. All right, when I was in college, that's all I wanted to be. I was like, I'm an athlete. All right, this is my name. How you doing? I'm Jess, and I play basketball, and I run track and field. All right, nice to meet you. Cool. Do you play sports? Cool. Let's go hang out. You see what I'm saying? And it was like, all right, if you're an athlete, you're my friend. You see what I'm saying? Because it's like, all right, there's something that you know, right? So then, all right, why do we as athletes connect, right? What makes that so special, right? So let's take a look at that. All right? And all right, what about you? All right, we're operating beyond basic self-awareness. All right, so when I talk about that, I think about the aspects of us as athletes. You guys are constantly putting yourselves in situations where you're going to be challenged, right? Right? There's drills that are specifically challenging certain skills, right? So you walk on the field, you walk on the court, all right? You walk up to coach, and coach is like, all right, I want you to do X, Y, Z. And you're like, coach, I've never done X, Y, Z. You're like, I only do A, B, C. And coach is like, that's fine. All right, welcome, and we're going to do X, Y, Z. And you're like, all right, well, let me figure this out, right? So you got to be honest with yourself right then and there. All right, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? All right, I don't know how to do this. All right, so I'm going to hop in line behind somebody that does know how to do this, right? All right, this one knows how to do X, Y, Z. All right, figure it out. All right, I know how to do A, B, C, so when you go to that one, I'll show you. You see what I'm saying? So like, all right, you guys got to operate beyond self-awareness, all right? So that mirror that I had up there, y'all got to be looking in that mirror a lot as far as like being honest with yourselves and like looking at, all right, where have I come from? What am I trying to accomplish? Is the work that I'm putting in aligning with those things that I'm trying to accomplish? And then last but not least, is what I'm working towards actually attainable? You see what I'm saying? So then, all right, and then y'all are pushing past limits, all right? So we've got our full-time job of being in school and going to class, and that doesn't include any of the extra stuff. You see what I'm saying? And with that in mind, our bare minimum is full effort, right? That doesn't mean that you're going like as hard as you can, you're going 115% every single second, but the bare minimum is that you're giving real effort and you're giving real concentration into those things that you're doing, all right? That takes energy and that takes time, right? So, all right, so how are we resetting ourselves and how are we moving past different things, all right? Whether that's a success or a failure, we're gonna have to separate our performance from our self-worth. So those things that you wrote down that might be a little bit more related towards you outside of sport, hold on to those things. You see what I'm saying? Hold on to those things because, all right, I don't know about y'all, but I've lost before. I've failed. I've gone into events and I had a no mark. So like for the heptathlon and track and field, all right, you've got so many events and each of your events you're supposed to score points, right? And you only get 3 chances with some of them. All right, there's been times in competition where I haven't scored at all, all right? So that means I'm gonna be down, and regardless of what happens, I'm pretty much gonna finish last. You see what I'm saying? But it's like, all right, are you willing to stay in there and finish the competition? All right, and then does you failing in that setting change who you are as a person, all right? Is that changing who you are? No. Those things are separate, but we spend so much of our time and we're investing so much of our energy in being an athlete that sometimes these things seem to blur, all right? And so when you look at that strengths list, maybe spend some time with it after we leave here and really look at, all right, how can I add some things to this so that like if I have a rough day, I can come back here and I can look at this. If you need to, write that stuff on your own mirror. You see what I'm saying? Get a dry erase marker and write that stuff up there so that you see that every day and you're reminded of who you are, all right? Because I don't define you, your coach doesn't define you, you define you. You see what I'm saying? Y'all are in a setting where you're like separated from your family in a growing experience. You see what I'm saying? So this is an opportunity for you guys to really learn who you are as people and how you want to move in the world. Does that make sense? All right, so it so happens that, all right, right now in this phase, y'all can be athletes and students. All right, how many people are just like, all right, I'm a student and like they're struggling with that? But like think about it. You guys are handling this, you're managing that, and then you're also doing sport on top of it. And many of you have been very successful in what you're doing. You see what I'm saying? So that goes back to our talking about, all right, y'all are operating at a different level. All right, different levels come with different responsibilities. All right, and so one of the things that I wanted to bring some light to was, All right, as you guys level up in your mental skills, as you level up in your physical skills, as you level up in your understanding of how to use both of those together, the challenges level up too. All right? So with that understanding, you have to keep improving yourself. You have to keep working on yourself in these different ways. And sometimes working on yourself means taking a rest day and really just spending time with yourself. You see what I'm saying? All right, so then, all right, let's go a little bit further into this self-talk. All right, what's this positive versus negative thinking? All right, so for those of you that have some notes, I'm going to write very poorly on the board. Forgive me. All right, and let's look at like the different ways that these come together. All right, so we've got positive thinking patterns, right? So we've got positive, all right, and then we've got negative, right? Oh, my computer. All right, so positive thinking is that optimism, right? I'm trying. I told you I was going to write poorly. I didn't lie. See, I'm honest. All right, I'm honest. All right, so then this is one aspect, all right? Then we got being realistic, right? And I'll put objective, all right? That's a J, don't worry about it, all right? And then we got being present versus worrying about the past or the future, right? Next one is looking at problems and seeing them as challenges. All right, so problem equals a challenge. And if y'all don't want to share, you're going to have to hear some war stories from my life, all right? I apologize, all right? Success is repeatable. And failure is conquerable. AKA failure is not forever. Alright, forever, ever, right? Alright, and then like looking at process versus product, right? And then our controllables. For any teacher that makes this look easy and can write well, God bless their heart, it's not. This is not my secret talent, I wish. Alright, so when it comes to optimism, alright, let's reframe, so with all of self-talk, how we word things and how we use our language is very impactful into how our brains are going to think, all right? And so this is a little life lesson on why understanding a lot of words and expanding your vocabulary, and you don't have to necessarily use like all the master's level and all the big words. All right, I'm getting my doctorate, and I'm not trying to speak like I sound like I'm doing research. You see what I'm saying? But understanding how language is used and the different kinds of words that are available for you to use gives you an opportunity to understand at a different level than you're operating, right? So think about when you were in kindergarten to like 3rd grade, right? You guys are just learning how to read and you're just basically trying to get a grasp on words, right? And then you think about the books that you were reading in 7th and 8th grade. Completely different words, all right? But the structure is still the same, right? The sentence has a start, all right? It has an end. Something's happening between the start and the end, right? All right, but how we get there matters, all right? And that's what this is, all right? So there's, I read a quote the other night, and I forgot who it's by, but it's by a golfer, and I'm pretty sure it's like Rory, and he says, the biggest part of the game happens between 5.5 inches, and he's talking about your brain, between your ears, all right? This space right here is the most important space because for things to cross here, all right, it's got to cross here before it crosses into action, right? All right, you got to think about it before it happens, all right? And for those things that have happened as an automated response, all right, how many times did you have to work on that as a drill to learn it for it to become automated, right? Nothing becomes automatic without you putting thought into it for that it becomes a program in your body, right? All right, so we programmed our body to be really good at sport. All right, so why don't we program our mind to be really good at putting all this together? You see what I'm saying? All right, so optimism is not this blind belief that, hey, everything is good life is Gucci. You see what I'm saying? No, it's being real about, all right, this is what's going on, and this is how I can view it. I can choose to do something about it. I can choose to see this as an opportunity. You see what I'm saying? So I think about optimism as choosing, all right? That's how I see it. All right, realistic and objective. All right, are you being realistic with yourself about your strengths and your weaknesses? Look at our metaphorical mirror. You see what I'm saying? All right, and be objective. And so, in order to understand a problem, sometimes you might have to remove yourself from that situation. All right. So if you're having a day where like you're in your feels, all right, be in your feels for a little bit. All right, but then when it comes to solving the problem, get out of your feels and look at all of the options that are available to you. All right. So spend that time with yourself to be able to get to this point of being objective, all right? Being present, all right? So when y'all came in, I wanted to make sure that I thank y'all for being here because y'all don't have any other time than right now, all right? And you don't have the future, you don't have the past because you can't go back and fix the past and we can't run into the future to change anything, right? But we can make choices right now that can impact our future, all right? So that's us being present, all right? So I'm gonna make the best possible choices with the given set of circumstances that I'm in to make this as good as possible. Does that make sense? All right, and then, all right, if every problem that we're faced with is a challenge, man, I like to be challenged. You see what I'm saying? All right, well then, what if you make that choice to be challenged? All right, that's not a problem. All right, this is just our current challenge, and we're gonna figure out a way to work through it. All right, there's always an option. Even when you get frustrated, there's always an option, all right? So keeping that mindset of like, all right, how do I make the next best choice, all right? So if success is repeatable, you're never gonna be stuck with failure, all right? I couldn't even write that bit, all right? So, see, I failed, all right? But I'm gonna repeat the success because I can write. I know I can write good, all right? Y'all didn't come out the womb knowing how to read, you didn't know how to write. Y'all don't walk, right? You had to learn how to walk, and then you fell on your butt, right? All that bit, right? And even when you start sport, you fall on your butt too. You see what I'm saying? Have any of y'all seen the movie The Ringer? All right, so there's a part in there where Johnny Knoxville is pretending to be someone with special needs, right? And he goes up and he's attempting to high jump, and he misses the mat completely. So he goes up and he jumps and he lands flat on his back, like doesn't touch the mat at all. All right, my first day of high jump, when I was working through track and field, was almost like that. And my teammates ridiculed the hell out of me for an entire year until I figured out how to high jump, right? All right, well, if I knew the worst thing that could happen was me falling flat on my back and probably getting the wind knocked out of me and being a little frustrated, all right, well, that gives me a chance to succeed. You see what I'm saying? And it became a place where it wasn't my worst thing, but it wasn't my best, but I knew that, all right, it can't get any lower than that first day that I had. You see what I'm saying? All right, so then you focus on the process versus the product, all right? If you're looking at only what the product is, and you're not looking at what the process is, there's a lot of things that are missed here, all right? For those of you that are in anything that's logistics-based, supply chain management, right? We're having a whole lot of logistics issues, right? So you guys might be ordering something, and it's not coming from us. All right, you know what that is? It's a process issue. It's not the product. Your shoes are good. I promise you, your shoes are good. All right, but how do we get them to you? You see what I'm saying? That's the issue. All right, so if we spend that time thinking about this factory and like getting it from the factory onto the truck or onto the boat, and then from the boat to the little delivery truck and all that bit, and it gets to your door, all right, that's the process. All right, so what areas in our life do we have processes, right? Y'all have to start a class in week 1, all right? And then you got to spend the next 12 weeks working through that, right? And then you've got a final project, right? But you don't start week 1 and then your final project is due. That wouldn't make any sense, right? You got to work through it and you got to learn the stuff that's happening in class for it to make sense for you to even put together a final project, right? And then we can look at what are the controllables. All right, you can't control your teammates, you can't control coach. You know who you can control? Me, not me. I saw some of y'all look at me, don't do that. All right, but you can control yourself. You see what I'm saying? Like, control yourself. All right, that's emotionally, that's physically, all right? And that's the combination of the two. So, like, these are our positives, all right? So then, let's flip it. All right, what are our negatives? All right, so, hey, we gotta be honest with it, right? We talked about optimism, not being all happy-go-lucky, but being real, right? All right, so what are our negatives? Our negatives are this critic. You know that voice that's inside your head that you didn't invite in, but it exists? That's this motherfucker. I'm sorry, but it really is a motherfucker. You see what I'm saying? All right, the critic is acknowledge that it's there, but don't listen. Don't listen on the effect that this is gonna change how you're doing the process. All right, that one is there just to keep you honest, right?